What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. And before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment to let me know what you think. Today we're going deep into a true piece of American muscle car history. One of the most legendary and underappreciated beasts of the golden era, the 1970 Mercury Cyclone Spoiler equipped with almighty 429 Super Cobra Jet. This isn't just another classic car, this is a rare, track-bred monster that rolled straight out of the factory with the kind of attitude that made Ford and Mercury feared competitors in NASCAR and drag strips alike. When you think of classic muscle, most people immediately picture the Chevelle SS, the Charger, or maybe a Mustang Mach-1. But those who really know their history understand that the Mercury Cyclone Spoiler with the 429 SCJ was one of the most serious contenders of its time, engineered for one purpose: to dominate. Mercury wasn't about to let its sibling, the Ford Torino, get all the spotlight. They wanted a car that looked aggressive, performed brutally, and could hold its own on the high banks of Daytona as well as the local quarter mile. Let's start with the heart of this machine, the 429 Super Cobra Jet V8. We're talking about a big block engine designed with racing in mind. This wasn't your average street cruiser motor. It came with a Holley 780 CFM carburetor feeding massive amounts of air and fuel into high flow heads. The SCJ wasn't just about horsepower on paper, it was about durability and real-world performance. Mercury equipped it with 4 bolt main caps, forged pistons, heavy-duty rods, and an external oil cooler to handle the kind of punishment that most engines couldn't survive. It was officially rated at 375 horsepower, but anyone who knows these cars understands those numbers were underrated. Real output was well into the 400-plus horsepower range with torque figures that could shred tires at will. Pair that engine with the legendary drag pack option, and you had a car that was basically race-ready. The drag pack automatically gave you the 391 or 430 traction, locked rear gears, meaning this car was set up to launch like a cannon off the line. Many came with the C6 automatic transmission, but a handful left the factory with a close ratio 4-speed manual, making them even more desirable today. The combination of gearing, power, and factory toughness meant this was a car built to take on the quarter mile as if it were born there. But the Cyclone Spoiler wasn't just about raw power, it was about presence. Look at the body lines. The front end was designed like a pointed nose cone, almost like a road-going missile. The twin scoops on the hood weren't just for looks, they were feeding that hungry engine with cold air. The rear spoiler tied the look together, reminding everyone that this was a car designed with aerodynamics in mind. This wasn't styling for the sake of styling. This was form-following function, and it gave the Cyclone a look unlike anything else on the street. Inside, Mercury kept things simple but effective. You'd find bucket seats, a center console, and performance gauges that made sure the driver knew exactly what was going on under the hood. It wasn't about luxury, it was about business. That cockpit was made to keep your eyes on the tatch, your hand on the shifter, and your foot planted to the floor. Even the steering wheel had a race-inspired feel to it, reminding you that this was not your average daily driver. On the street, the 1970 Cyclone Spoiler 429 SCJ was a monster. It had a reputation for being brutally fast and loud, with a deep exhaust note that could shake windows and send chills down the spine of anyone lucky enough to hear it. On the track, it proved itself worthy by being a competitive platform for NASCAR. Drivers like Cale Yarber and David Pearson took Mercury's aero cars to serious victories, and the street versions carried that same DNA. Owning one meant you had a direct connection to that racing heritage. And even today, collectors chase after these cars because they know how rare and special they really are. Speaking of rarity, let's talk numbers. Very few of these cars were ever produced with the 429 Super Cobra Jet and drag pack options. Mercury wasn't pumping these out like Mustangs or Cougars. They were low production, purpose-built machines. That means when you see one today, especially one that's still carrying its original drivetrain, you're looking at a piece of history that's nearly impossible to replace. The Cyclone Spoiler SCJ has become one of the most sought after muscle cars for serious collectors, and prices at auctions have skyrocketed, often reaching 6 figures for well-preserved or fully restored examples. What makes the 1970 Mercury Cyclone Spoiler 429 SCJ so captivating isn't just the specs, the looks, or the rarity, it's the story. This was Mercury's moonshot, their way of saying, we can go head-to-head with anyone. It's the kind of car that represents an era when automakers were pushing the limits of what they could sell to the public, when horsepower wars were at their peak, and when cars were as much about identity as they were about transportation. Driving one of these isn't just a thrill, it's stepping back into 1970 when gas was cheap, roads were open, and muscle ruled the earth. So why does this car matter today? Because it's a symbol of everything that made the muscle car era unforgettable. It's raw, it's untamed, and it's rare. It's a reminder that sometimes the underdog builds the biggest legend. And while everyone else was looking at Camaros and Challengers, Mercury quietly built a machine that could outrun almost anything. If you ever get the chance to see one in person, take a moment to appreciate it. The details, the engineering, the sheer audacity of building a street car like this. It's more than metal and horsepower. It's heritage, it's passion, and it's proof that the 1970 Mercury Cyclone Spoiler 429 Super Cobra Jet was and always will be one of the greatest muscle cars of all time. That's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Cyclone Spoiler SCJ, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your fellow car enthusiasts. Drop a comment below and let me know what muscle car you'd like to see covered next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one!